I'm Laura Ingraham. This is the Ingraham Angle from Washington tonight. As always, thank you for joining us. Just getting started. That's the focus of tonight's angle.
Nobody's coming in, and nobody's coming now because they know they're not going to be able to come in. So we've really stopped something that was very, very serious. But we have to get the bad ones out. We have many murderers, many very bad people in our country that they've allowed because of a ridiculous, actually stupid, open border policy.
956. That's the number of illegals, most with criminal records, who were deported by ICE just yesterday. In total, there have been 2,370 arrests of border crashers since January 23rd. That's about an average of 592 a day. These were child molesters, these were gangbangers, these were drug and human traffickers, and domestic abusers. Yeah, there were rapists, too. Meet Edgar de la Cruz Manzo, convicted child rapist and Mexican national, arrested by ICE in Seattle on Saturday. And there are just cold-blooded killers in the bunch, too, like Cesar Augusto Polanco, who hails from the Dominican Republic and was just picked up in Boston a few days ago. Now, seeing the deportation flights begin, the troops on the border, the no-nonsense Tom Homan doing what he does best, enforcing the law, protecting the homeland. This is all extremely positive. It has a phenomenal deterrent effect on anyone thinking of coming here at this point. Now, one would think that keeping vicious criminals off the streets would be uncontroversial. How's that controversial? But singer, actress, and skincare entrepreneur Selena Gomez, she's very upset.
Just wanted to say that I'm so sorry. All my people are getting attacked. The children. I don't understand. I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't. I don't know what to do. I'll try everything, I promise.
Well, she's really crying there. Well, she tried until the fierce online backlash, and then Gomez deleted that insipid, weepy post. Notice she said, "My people are getting attacked." What are my people? Is she an illegal alien committing crimes? Those aren't her people. Now, given that she's worth an estimated $1.3 billion, good for her, according to Bloomberg, I imagine Selena Gomez could establish homes for migrants in their home countries, where they're actually citizens. But no, she apparently thinks that working people should be punished by having these illegals flood their communities. And speaking of billionaires, and even worse than Gomez not caring about the safety of the American people, is a governor not caring about the safety of the American people. Enter shameless deceiver, Illinois' J.B. Pritzker.
They're going after people who are law-abiding, who are holding down jobs. Why are we going after them? These are not people who are causing problems in our country, and what we need is a path to citizenship for them. We also need to protect people, at least the residents of Illinois and all across the nation, who are just doing what we hope that immigrants will do.
Wait, did he say protect people? What a farce. Chicago is already reeling from gangbanger crime. They don't need any more problems. And raise your hand if you're tired of these rich politicians and CEOs and celebrities trotting out their immigration sob stories. I used to do this on my radio show years ago, complete with music. But every time enforcement is actually carried out or ramped up, it's always the valedictorian. It's the same thing. But first of all, if you're in the country illegally, and especially if you're a criminal, you are a deportable alien under U.S. law. And yes, the term alien is correct. Others here on phony claims of asylum, they are deportable as well. But just because wealthy Americans like cheap labor, that doesn't change what's true. Now, Trump won, and he said this tonight when he was in Florida giving that speech to the Republicans. He won in large part because of his pledge to deport millions of illegals. And I mean millions, not thousands, millions. The explosion of the illegal population coast to coast has had hideously destructive effects on local communities, on their schools, on their health care budgets, and of course, the crime, including against children. as we've seen with recent horrors in Boston, where local authorities had released this freak into the community. And there are tens of thousands of other violent illegal alien criminals still loose across America. And as far as the argument that garden variety illegal immigration is a victimless crime, you know what I say to that? Bull. Working families, first-time job seekers, as usual, they suffer the most. And also kids in schools that are overloaded with ESL students. Budgets are crunched. Of course, wealthy Democrats, though, like JB, like Gavin Newsom, with their multiple homes and their private jets, they float above the misery they're willing to inflict on you. But they ought to be very careful here, because interfering with a federal law enforcement operation is a crime. Listen closely to his state AG, who parses his words very carefully.
I have no intent on interfering with legal immigration enforcement processes. The state of Illinois is that we have a trust act that says that local and state law enforcement resources cannot be used for such unless there's a federal criminal warrant. I'm going to stand by our Constitution. I'm going to stand by our state law.
What the Open Borders Uniparty did to America is, I'm sorry, it's treasonous. And until we remove all the threats to the homeland, we should have a pause on all immigration to the United States. We must get rid of this backlog. It is massive, in the tens of millions. And 1,000 a day is sadly, it's just a drop in the bucket. We need 10 times that number, which is possible if states and local officials actually cooperated. And you know what happens when America becomes, as Teddy Roosevelt warned all those years ago, a polyglot boarding house? Look at what went down in Dallas over the weekend.
The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated.
And we need not forget the NGOs and other groups that take in huge amounts of federal money to settle and help process illegal aliens, like the Catholic Charities.
I'm an attorney at Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of Milwaukee in the Refugee and Immigration Services Program. This is a video about knowing your rights if Immigration and Customs Enforcement approaches you. If you are undocumented and immigration officers come to your workplace, be aware of the following. First, do not panic and do not run away. If you are questioned, you may tell them you want to remain silent. You can refuse to sign any or all paperwork until you've had the opportunity to speak to a lawyer.
All the money has to be cut off to these groups, all of it. This money should be spent on American homeless individuals, drug addicted, vets on the streets, the elderly living alone. All of this, it's got to stop. Now, naturally, CBS yesterday tried to pull the immigration sob story routine on Vice President J.D. Vance.
The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops this week condemned some of the executive orders signed by President Trump, specifically those allowing immigration and customs enforcement to enter churches and to enter schools. Do you personally support the idea of conducting a raid or enforcement action in a church service, at a school?
As a practicing Catholic, I was actually heartbroken by that statement. If they're worried about the humanitarian costs of immigration enforcement, let them talk about the children who have been sex trafficked because of the wide open border. If you had a violent murderer in a school, of course I want law enforcement to go and get that person out.
Of course.
So what's the point of the question?
Enough with the immigration sob stories. There are just as many American difficulties out there because of the illegal immigrant crush. JD killed it in that interview. And don't you love how Democrats and their pals in the regime media have suddenly become fiscal hawks when it comes to the cost of deporting all the illegals that their policies allowed in?
They want to invest billions of dollars in the mass deportation, which, by the way, will also drive up costs when we lose hardworking immigrants that have been here for decades, expect prices to go through the roof.
His plans to deport undocumented migrant workers and put tariffs on imports would likely drive up the cost to build more homes.
These sorts of things are going to cost a lot of money. You're going to need a lot of money to fund what he wants to do at the border, how he wants to deport millions of undocumented immigrants.
Oh, yeah, now they want to cut costs. Where were they 4 years ago? Now, Tom Homan has the best response to all of this.
There's consequences of entering a country illegally. If we don't show there's consequences, you're never going to fix the border problem. Congress has a mandate to give us money we need. What price you put on national security? What price you put on all these young ladies that have been raped and murdered and burned alive? What price you put on that? What price you put on Laken Riley's life? What price you put on national security?
America needs to be America again. Immigration, the right kind, once we get our house in order, it's beautiful. People who love our country, our culture, our language, our flag, it's a beautiful thing. But divided loyalties are poisonous to our national purpose. But the left, they want us at each other's throats. They love it. They love scenes like that in Dallas. Constant strife. They depend on it. Remember Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals? It's all in there. Pick the target, freeze it, personalize it, and polarize it. Look, we're only a week in, and so far, so good. But with approximately 15 million illegals here, probably more, Tom Homan and the DHS will need to move with deliberate speed. They'll need to get creative. Everyone here illegally needs to return home so we can have peace in our home. And that's The Angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.